Hello and welcome back to the Q&A. So as always, if you have a question, please leave it down in the comments. The good news is a whole bunch of people replied to the last video, and I've got a ton of great material to work with. So thank you very much to everyone who did get back to me. Now then, let's move on to the questions, and a lot of these questions are coming from like Veridon Apocalypse, who has, outdone himself and actually given a whole bunch of really interesting questions. So let's get going. Question number 1. Do you see the black market auction house being made in Warlords of Draenor? Or perhaps just the old one being expanded upon? And then overall, what is my opinion on the black market auction house? Alright, so as for it being remade in Warlords itself, I don't think that will happen. There really isn't much of a point when you think about it, and those people who the black market auction house are meant for, well, they already know that it's in Pandaria. It makes sense with that whole black market sort of thing that Madame Goya, or whatever she's called, has going on. So I think they're just going to keep the old one, and in terms of expanding it, I'm not really sure where they would expand it to. Because right now, it's just a gold sink for the ultra-rich, and that just means, some mounts, some pets, maybe a bit of gear. That's fine, but what else could they do that wouldn't be game-breaking? Or, wouldn't be sort of giving away rewards that people shouldn't really be able to buy. Honestly, I think it's just going to stay the exact same. And as for my opinion of the black market auction house on a whole, well, I think it's a good system, and it's nice to have something in there to allow people to just really work towards getting a crap ton of gold, and then they can buy cool stuff with it. I think that's grand, and for the people who are big into their gold making, absolutely go ahead and do that. As long as Blizzard just keep off mounts that are no longer in the game. So I'm really okay with say the Ashes of Alar appearing on the black market auction house, because here's the thing. First of all, it's not going to appear all the time, and really, in terms of how many more it adds to the game, how many more Ashes of Alar the black market auction house would add into the game, I don't think that it's really a great deal, because if you have maybe 100 people farming that boss once every week, then quite a few Ashes of Alars are going to come into the game anyway, and I just don't think the black market auction house really throws off the balance of things too badly. Though if you could get, say, the Amani Warbear, or, I don't know, the Crusaders Colosseum, heroic mode mounts, then I'd have a problem with it, because those things aren't in the game anymore. So as long as they just keep it to things that are readily available in the game via other means, I'm okay. And honestly, it's so damn expensive that the vast majority of us, myself included, can't afford half of it. Okay, so the next question is, do you think that the whole RNG system is dated? And do you think that there is some sort of way to improve the system to make it better? Well. This is a hard question to answer, actually. So, the flip side of RNG is everything is points-based, like Valor or something like that. Now, here's the issue. It's extremely deterministic. You'll get a certain amount of points every week, and therefore, there's no real excitement with getting gear. And also, it kind of limits boss drops, though I suppose they could have some sort of deterministic gear system via points, and then have bosses drop cool augments or something like that. I don't know, equivalent to, say, weapon strap-ons in South Park: The Stick of Truth. I don't think that would be very good, though, because I like the idea of bosses dropping armor. That makes sense, and it's how I think it should be in a role-playing game like World of Warcraft. So overall, I wouldn't want it to be a solely deterministic points-based system. I think that there is a role for points in there somewhere. It's not that big, and I'm very keen to see how things are going to pan out in Warlords of Draenor if they do carry forward that change of removing Justice and Valor. I think that could be really cool. Now then, as for the RNG system being dated, well, I think that it's a system that's really timeless in a way. It's been done for 30, probably 40 years when you get right down to it with the old school pen and paper RPGs, and right now I think that the RNG system it's kind of okay. I think what will really improve it and make it more palatable for people is once they improve the bonus roll system. I think as an idea, bonus rolls are great, but the problem with bonus rolls is they can drop dupes, and when you don't get an item, when you lose the bonus roll, it's often just a bit of a kick in the ass, honestly. It doesn't feel that good, so if they could have some sort of way of just making those bonus coins feel a little bit better when you lose. Maybe if they were to still have a point system, well, maybe then your bonus coin would just give you some points instead of an item, or I don't know. Something, though, something a little bit beyond just 30 gold, because I don't think that's really... That's not good. You feel like you're being dicked over. If they can just make it so that if you lose, well, it's not that much of a loss, and you've actually gained something cool, and then if you win, well, hurrah, you have a shiny piece of loot. So overall, I think, yes, the improved bonus roll system should improve it a lot in Warlords of Draenor, but the base boss drop model is something that I'm completely okay with at the minute. I know that a lot of people ideally would just love it to be pure Valor points or something like that, but honestly, all that would do is it would bring in welfare epics, it would gate everyone's progress on a weekly basis, it would take out a lot of the excitement from the game, and it would just turn gearing into a slog, and since gearing is such an important part of this game's feedback loop, I just think it would throw it completely off whack. So RNG, I'm cool with you. Okay, so let's move on to the third question. And he said, should they make a new type of world boss that assaults a main city or settlement? I remember Cruel, that killed whole cities of NPCs and players until we got a 40-man raid and killed him in the opening event of the Burning Crusade. In my opinion, he improved the server community because we actually had to work together as a community to kill this boss, and due to the boss's abilities, it couldn't really be ultra-zerged. Alright, so this is actually a really, really interesting idea. Right now, world bosses suffer from a tad of just a problem, where they can be zerged. There are not a great deal of world boss mechanics that actually scale too well with the amount of players. Now, I know things like their health and maybe some of their damage or number of targets do scale, but things like, and what he said actually further on in that question is that with Krull, when someone died, he got healed. I think cool little mechanics like that certainly could have a place in some sort of big scary boss fight. Of course, they'd have to make it so that one or two silly people don't just get the entire, planet killed. But I think this idea of a settlement or something like that being basically locked down by a world boss is really cool. And now that servers are being connected and populations are getting a little bit better, and then of course we have some cross-realm zones if they are ever needed, well, because of that, it's not like a settlement would just be shut down forever because there aren't enough players on a server. That wouldn't really happen as much anymore. So absolutely, I think this would be quite fantastic. In terms of these bosses actually being powerful enough to really be a large threat, I think, yeah, it would actually have a great effect for bringing servers together. Right now, that doesn't happen too much. You don't really need to know the people on your server. And that's fine. Okay, whatever. It means there's, I don't know, less people to depend on or something, but I think there's definitely something to be said for having a server community. Things like these boss fights would absolutely bring the server together. And it wouldn't be as simple as just, LF 30 people for X world boss. No, it would be, oh shit, our town's under attack, come on guys, let's go defend it. I think stuff like that could work out just in a very interesting fashion. Then also, I just love the idea of defending things. This has been just a constant with me in games. I definitely remember, though, way back in Darkshire, all the way in the Burning Crusade, when I was leveling up my very first warrior, I remember Stitches. And Stitches was just really cool, and okay, maybe there, often wasn't too many players there helping me out with Stitches, but I still thought it was cool. It was something happening in the world. It would come to the town, it would try to kill the NPCs, the quest NPCs would get involved in the fight, and it felt like one of those points at which the world was slightly more alive than usual. And then what did they do in Cataclysm? They took away Stitches and turned it into a little phased event, and took away the just kind of unique and interesting flair from it. So anyway, in short, I think I do agree with you. A new kind of world boss that would attack a main city would be awesome. They would just have to perhaps come up with some sort of way in which players have got an alternate route out of cities, or, something like that. Just to make sure that the boss couldn't just sit there griefing players and it would actually, legitimately ruin their play experience. They'd have to balance that. But overall, I think, yes, they should do that. Okay, so the next question is, do you think they could turn the Wandering Isle into a new battleground in Warlords of Draenor? It has been 2 years and the turtle should be healed and able to move. It would be a very powerful tool to have this turtle on your side, because it's essentially an air carrier for your army. The Wandering Isle itself is a very nice looking zone, and it's not even in the outside world when you leave as a Pandaren. They could bring some nice things in this battleground, like, for an example, the turtle being above water, below water, and various things like that. He said that there could be like a tower in the middle, well, the tower that is in the middle, so teams could attack and defend it, and just various things like that. Okay, so do I think this is going to happen in Warlords of Draenor? No, I don't. I think, and honestly, I would prefer if we just got Draenor-themed Battlegrounds, and I think most people would agree with me. But I actually also think that this is a bit of a missed opportunity in Pandaria. They could have done something really kind of cool with this. And maybe the Wandering Isle itself would have been too big. Maybe, I don't know, there was another turtle floating around, a little small turtle that was Battleground size. We could have a fight in it. There could be mechanics based on the turtle's movement. It could, dive underwater, and that would maybe just, or maybe, partially dive underwater, and it would submerge areas of the map, and maybe we could have some sort of, I don't know, going around on water vehicle, or just something interesting like that. Yeah, I think fair enough. It's a beautiful aesthetic. It could be a fun battleground, though I just don't think it would happen because we're going to be more focused on Warlords of Draenor themed ones. And speaking of Warlords of Draenor themed battlegrounds, I don't know if we're getting any in launch, which, honestly, that's a bit of a pity to me. It really is. I'm sure we will get multiple as patches go on. I know that right now Ashran is the giant concern, and I think fair enough, Ashran is what's going to provide the most gameplay to the most people. But I certainly would like to see some new battlegrounds coming from Warlords. Another thing that I kind of wouldn't mind is just the ability to queue up on a certain expansion's battlegrounds. I just feel like as time goes on, the pool of battlegrounds is just going to be larger and larger, and it's going to be harder to find the one that you want outside of a Call to Arms weekend. Okay, so maybe splitting it down by expansion wouldn't be good enough. I think there's probably not enough new ones per expansion to do that. But I don't know, just some sort of way of splitting it up. Still, anyway, that's that quick ramble done with. Next, let's move on to the final question from McTheraton Apocalypse, which is, do you think the Mists of Pandaria Legendary Quest Chain would be a good system to add professions to? Or, yeah, basically have a profession-based quest line. He said, an epic profession quest chain for all professions could take up basically a whole expansion pack cycle, and it would get people more involved in the profession, and then it would let them use some cool items or mounts they would need to craft in order to complete scenarios or parts of the quest chain. And maybe the end reward could be a profession mount or a garrison profession building or something like that. So I think overall, in terms of it being worth Blizzard's time and resources, I don't think an entire legendary quest would be worth it, but I do think profession-based quests are pretty cool, and especially in a way that could tie into garrisons. Maybe you could get some extra flair for one of your garrison buildings if you share its profession, which would mean that you could further augment it past what other players could do. So say you're an enchanter, and you go into your garrison, you talk to the enchanting guy at the enchanting building, and he gives you some quests. Then you do those quests, you come back, and you can upgrade your enchanting building beyond what most other people can, because you're an enchanter. I think that would be a really cool way of doing things. Though as for just random little one-off quest chains that reward things for professions, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We've kind of had them in the game. Quest chains that reward you with, the Mechanical Yeti, just various things like that I think are great. They had a lot of flavor, and it just gives some unique gameplay to people who own a certain profession, and I think giving unique gameplay to people is always a very worthwhile thing. Okay, maybe it won't apply to 100% of the player base, but what it does do for the people who are able to play it is it just provides a really nice, unique experience. Think of Warlocks in the Green Fire quest. From what I hear, that's actually one of the best quest chains that Blizzard has ever done. So if we can get that tier of questline just sort of woven into various parts of the game when it makes sense, I think it would absolutely be great, and I think that professions, to a lesser degree, would suit something like that very well. So, yeah, that's some pretty good stuff. Let's just go for one final question from Devixia, who said, on a non-World of Warcraft related question, do I play League? If so, what server, and what is my favourite champion, and why? I've played a little bit of League of Legends, and really this is more a MOBA problem for me, but I'm a StarCraft 2 guy. Or at least I was. I haven't played the game in a year, but I'm an RTS person, so really I just can't get I can't really get the gameplay that I enjoy from a MOBA, and I don't particularly enjoy them anyway. I don't like the whole grinding thing, and I just think yeah, sure they're fun, but for me it's nowhere near the thrill of a really good bout of StarCraft games. Especially in terms of just StarCraft's got extremely good balance, and the gameplay is so fast where every second counts, all your decisions count. I just love, it's very rich. I just don't find that same richness from MOBAs. Now in terms of MOBAs that I have played, I've done a little bit of Dota. It was okay, whatever. It's pretty, it's good. I've tried League of Legends for a decent amount of time, maybe 10 hours or so. This is maybe going back a year and a half, and I played mainly Caitlyn. The reason I played Caitlyn is because guns and ranged weaponry, and I like ranged combat, and really I thought that it was Ashe, the starter bow, like arrow person that I got. She was okay, but I saw some people play Caitlyn and thought it looked like a really fun champion, and you know what, it was pretty fun. I enjoyed the Yordle snap trap, and you know, when you catch people well with that, I thought it was pretty cool. Now, as for your World of Warcraft related question, it was, what would happen if Thrall survived when he was a baby, but didn't escape Blackmoor? Well, what would have happened if he didn't escape Blackmoor is nobody would have really got the orcs back together, now that I think about it. And the orcs were instrumental in the whole fight against Archimonde, so it's definitely a possibility that Archimonde could have claimed the power of of Nordrassil and basically just, you know, fucked us all over. I think that's what would have happened. So it definitely is a good thing that Thrall survived as a baby. Now, if he didn't escape, not survived, yeah, if he didn't escape and did survive, what would have happened is Thrall would have been raised up as a gladiator. And perhaps he could escape at a later date using his powerful gladiatorial skills to lead some sort of Spartacus-style revolution. And honestly, I think that would be a pretty damn cool story. So maybe he could do that and fight Archimonde, but honestly, I think it would be too late at that stage. So, yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on the matter. Anyway, that's been it for today's Q&A. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you have a question, please leave it down in the comments. It would help me out a lot, and it's always fun to hear from people. If you want to support the channel, you can check out my Patreon page and then my social media links, which are in the description for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.